Talk to me. WSRadio.com.
The San Diego Council on Literacy brings you Literacy for All with your host, Jose Cruz.
Welcome to the show. I'm Jose Cruz from the San Diego Council on Literacy, and you're listening to Literacy for All on WS Radio. And our guest today, there are a couple of them. Susan Clark, she's the founder, director of Common Knowledge Group, and with her is Ray Jackson. He's a former student at Berkeley Reeds, and we're going to talk about that. I guess now he's a student at Cal. Susan and Ray, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jose. And guess what? I just sent you a message a little while ago. It turns out that Ray Jackson's class schedule is such that he's in class right now and won't be able to join us.
Well,
but we're excited that he is a student at Cal.
Yeah, and we want him there. Important, very important, because I know he's on his own journey, and maybe you can talk about his story too. So you are calling in. Where are you today, Susan? I know you get around.
Based in San Rafael, north of San Francisco, over the Golden Gate Bridge.
Very good, nice. And I know there's a lot going on out there right now, and we're thinking about folks up in Northern California and down here in Southern California with the fires. Hopefully, you haven't been affected, or people in your family or friend circle.
Well, thank you. And yes, our hearts are with everybody. The air quality is not good, so I'm happy to be indoors talking with you today.
Very good. First of all, before we get started, there's so much that you've been doing over the last 25 years? Am I overstating
Yes.
it? It's been a long time. And I do want to get into the history a little bit about your work, and I know that you'd like to talk about your new resume project, and we're going to do that too. But can you tell us how you would define community education?
Well, that's a great question and something that I've spent 25 years deepening my understanding. I'm wondering if one place to start is how I began my career doing market research and selling products, and then I became a library-based literacy tutor. And my career took a big, sharp change for the better. And over the years, I've been trying to understand how our entire community can help all people, adults, get the education that they need. But I think you may know a theme through the work that I've been doing with libraries, with adult schools, with other kinds of organizations working across sectors, just like you do at the San Diego Council on Literacy.
Mm-hmm.
For us, community education involves working with the community members to have them help define what they need to learn and have them help co-create the curriculum and co-present it. Those are our strongest projects when we do it that way.
Very good. I love it. So in essence, it's not making any assumptions about community needs. It's being in touch, engaged with, working which is very consistent with what we've said about library-based literacy programs and one-to-one tutoring, very much relationship-based. Would you describe your work being founded in that approach?
Absolutely. It is about relationship. Part of our work at Common Knowledge is also working with cities and counties on community engagement, and some people aren't ready to hear it is all about relationship building, but that's why I really appreciate the literacy world, because people know that you need to develop that trusting relationship between the students, and whether it's a one-on-one tutor, small class. The really great opportunity I had early on, I was a library-based literacy tutor, and then I started working with small groups of learner leaders. These were folks who had gained enough confidence in building their reading skills that they were stepping into a fuller sense of their capacity. They'd spent many parts of their lives. I was working with students who were in their 30s, 40s, 50s, finally having that opportunity to break through the shame of not being able to read. And then they had so many other talents and capacities that were waiting to be expressed. And I don't know, would you like to hear a refresher on the story of the Key to Community Project and the Easy Voter Guide?
Yes.
Because it was a tremendous example
yes,
of how
right.
learner insights solved a problem that experts weren't able to figure out. So this was back in the mid-'90s, and there was a group called the Bay Area New Reader Council. And I was also, in addition to being a library-based literacy tutor, a new member of the League of Women Voters San Francisco board. And I was discovering that it wasn't just enough to create the information. You had to create an appetite for the information.
Right.
Remember, I'm a former marketing person.
Yes.
So I'm like, well, how do we make people want this information?
Yeah.
So we worked with adult learners, and we got a state library grant, and we put a label on it, voter education for adult learners. And then I sat down with the learner team and I said, so, what do you think about this? And they said, well, many of us aren't voters. Even the word education, you may think it's a good word, but for us it harks back to school that wasn't great.
Right.
So we want to reshape this project. And they renamed it Key to Community. And we started finding out what they wanted. And so many of the expert studies say, well, people don't like politics. And we know in our current environment that's true.
Yeah.
And they say people don't have time. But it turned out that this team of adult learners had some other insights. Like going to vote felt like going to the DMV, like taking a test, and you had to answer every single question. So one of the first things they did was help people understand you could vote on just one thing. Mm-hmm. The other thing is the experts are like, how do we make voting relevant? Mm-hmm. And we asked the learners, well, what are the issues you want to talk about? So they did dialogues on the issues they wanted to talk about, not the ones chosen for them by the campaigns, which tend to be wedge issues.
Right.
So they chose their own issues. They made voting much easier. And then the part of the project some people in literacy know about is the Easy Voter Guide. So once we got them saying, why do I want to vote? How do I vote? It's easier than I realized. And then what are we voting on? And the adult students created, with help from our group Common Knowledge, an easier to digest version of what was on the ballot. And that Easy Voter Guide continues to this day.
Yeah, well, I'm chuckling to myself because it's something that that we all, those of us who've seen it, it's like, hey, I want this too, right? And I read quite well, and I know there are folks that even with higher level skills, they're not able to understand what the initiatives are about. But you're right, Susan, just in terms of starting at the beginning with what people need, what they perceive to be community issues, things that are of interest to them and their family and their neighbors, and then going from there so that you have more reason to invest and to show interest and to take action, right?
Absolutely. And so the Easy Voter Guide became very popular with busy voters of all education levels as well as new voters. One of the things about these adult learner teams is no question is off the table. So one of the students early on was looking at a ballot that had treasurer versus controller and, what does one do versus the other?
Right.
And she's like, what are the job descriptions for these things? And I said, great question. And we ended up going to the Secretary of State and saying, here are the job descriptions we've come up with for lieutenant governor and insurance commissioner and so forth for all of those statewide offices besides governor. And the Secretary of State's office said, hey, that's really helpful.
Yeah.
So even the official guide that you get every statewide election has job descriptions that were inspired by adult learners asking that basic but important question.
Yeah, and you would have thought that other people in the circle of creating the literature for the ballots or just the whole process of voting would have thought of this, but it came from the people in your Key to Community group looking at things from a real people and sensible level. So excellent. How much would you say that this kind of engagement has changed how the students in your program are engaged in their community, let's say on a daily basis, just that this is part of their consciousness now? Does it change them to that extent?
I'm really glad you asked that question, because working with the adult students, as you say, it keeps it real, keeps it kind of fresh versus people's assumptions. One of the things that we found out is many of us who grew up in voting families assume that voting is the first natural step to getting involved in, civic and community life. Working with the students, we actually found in some cases they needed to have some other positive interaction with their local government before they'd want to vote. So, we might have a natural sort of progression. I'll vote first, and then maybe I'll, show up. And that wasn't really the case, that there were many different on-ramps.
Right.
But one of the things I will say is we did get a grant partway through this project to measure what was the impact, right? So remember that we had the dialogues and then the fun, hands-on, peer-led voting workshops, and then the Easy Voter Guide, which is, we say kind of busted the de facto literacy test of the official guide. If students participated in 2 out of 3 of those, voting turnout doubled.
Wow.
So this was students 18 to 50, predominantly lower income, less educated, and instead of voting at a rate of 36%, they voted at a rate of 72%.
Excellent. We're going to come back. Yeah, Susan, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back for the next segment, and pick up on this and also talk about the new resume project. This is the Literacy for All show on WS Radio. We are the worldwide leader in Internet talk.
You take your smartphone almost everywhere you go. Now WSRadio.com can be there too. Search WS Radio in the Play Store for your Android devices or iTunes for Apple, and download the WS Radio application. WSRadio.com, on your phone and in your ear everywhere you go. Download the WS Radio application. Do it now. It's very easy. WSRadio.com.
Looking to be a successful entrepreneur? The virtual assistant industry continues to be a top choice for those looking to start their own business. The problem can be how to become a virtual assistant. Many turn to the Bible of the VA industry, the book, Virtual Assistant, the series, and it's the perfect guide for office managers, executive assistants, and other administrative professionals looking to make the transition from employee to successful business owner. Go to vatheseries.com to get your copy today.
Small businesses are the lifeblood of America's economy. Every Thursday, SBA Radio interviews industry professionals and is dedicated to provide small businesses with timely insights and innovations. Visit www.sbaradio.us for details.
Homeless veterans and their families are suffering and need our support, but many won't ask or don't know that help is within reach. Veterans Community Services is here to help. Amazingly, about 35% of the homeless in our neighborhoods are veterans with families. Low-income veterans or their friends are encouraged to contact Veterans Community Services and reach out for help with housing and other services. Call now, 800-974-9909.
Securing Our eCity Foundation is a nonprofit organization focused on cybersecurity awareness and education. Formed in 2011, their mission is to enable every San Diegan to live, work, and play safely in the cyber world. For more information, visit securingourecity.org or call 619-630-2444. Securingourecity.org, 619-630-2444. Securingourecity.org.
Donate cash, furniture, clothes, and other gently used household items to Father Joe's Villages and get a nice tax break in April. Every donation is tax deductible. Believe you can make a difference. Be Father Joe. Go to neighborhood.org or call 1-800-HOMELESS to donate today.
Life is full of misadventures, from car crashes to home fires to getting choked out on the mat.
Yes, I said getting choked out because I'm Carlos Kramer, jiu-jitsu competitor, MMA and media personality, and mild-mannered insurance agent. You can follow my adventures on Kick-Ass Radio, and I can protect you from life's misadventures at Kramer Insurance. Home, auto, life, business, and workers' comp. We're at KramerINS.com, and I want you to join my world.